Samsung Galaxy S21 FE Fan Edition was spotted at Geekbench with the Exynos 2100 variant. The Exynos 21 FE will be announcing with two chipsets, two variants for worldwide. One is Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 that will be limited to some countries. The second one is Samsung Exynos 2100, which we most of the world. Here are the scores for the Exynos 2100 in single score 1104 and multi-core was 3220, running Android 12 on One UI 4 on an 8GB of RAM. This confirms that the S21 FE CPU and the release date should be around January 4. Also, the S21 FE marketing material was leaked. We can see and confirm the design and the colors of the device based on the official leaks. The S21 FE will have not 100% confirmed this, but it will come with AMOLED Full HD Plus display at a 120Hz refresh rate, a punch-hole selfie camera at 32 megapixel. The rear camera will be 64 megapixel wide camera, and an ultra wide camera and a depth sensor. As mentioned before, it will come with two different chipsets based on the market you live in. Snapdragon 88 or Exynos 2100. It supports 6 to 8 GB of RAM. It will support 4500 mAh battery with a charging speed at 50 watts. Pretty disappointing for the charging speed. Samsung has finished the development of the next gen LPDDR5 RAM, in which is a new generation of LPDDR5X RAM comes with 20% less power consumption, building in a 14nm chip that will increase the RAM capacity at up to 64 GB of RAM. The improved speed will be at 8.5 GB of RAM over the present one that is 6.4 GB per second, the 2 GB more than before. This new gen LPDDR5 will be powered on the next gen devices such as smartphones, tablets, laptops, and more. The release date to the market is unknown. Samsung Exynos past history has been behind Snapdragon chipset, but recently Samsung is trying to be the top chipset. We can tell by Samsung has been improving the Exynos by recent years by improving the CPU and the GPU performance and controlling the heat dissipation. We can tell with the comeback of Exynos with the Exynos 2100 chipset closing the gap, and the future changes with the partnership with AMD to bring RDNA 2 GPU to smartphones. Now, according to Ice Universe, Qualcomm Snapdragon 898 will still remain the top chipset, even though Exynos 2200 with AMD graphics is closing the gap. The reason is based on the leak that Snapdragon 898 GPU, the Adreno 730, was beating the expectation on power and low energy consumption. Ice Universe mentioned that the Exynos 2200 with AMD GPU also. Frontier, another leaker, support Ice Universe claim about the Exynos 2200 with AMD graphics must need 50% to be at the same level as Snapdragon 898, who is beating the expectation. Both chipsets, the Snapdragon 898 and the Exynos 2200, must pay also attention to the heat dissipation, in which can sustain long use without throttling. All this data is pre-released and can change when the chipset is finalized. Also, the Exynos 2200 will bring ray tracing and support variable shaders. No word when the Samsung is unveiling the Exynos 2200 chipset. It was rumored by November 19, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And Qualcomm Snapdragon 898 is probably expected event by November 30 of this year. Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus was leaked with Qualcomm Snapdragon 898 chipset. The Snapdragon 898 is a pre-release chipset in which it can be improved more. The Snapdragon 898 will have in one core of 3 GHz, 3 more cores 2.5 GHz, 4 cores of 1.7 GHz. The score in single core was 1163 and multi-core was 2728. Alongside 8 GB of RAM running Android 12 One UI 4, the Geekbench score don't reflect the real-life performances. It's just a synthetic score to measure the performances. Also, the S22 standard and S22 Plus will keep the same 3-year-old 10 megapixel selfie camera as before. Here is a chart who is revealing the mass production of the future Samsung smartphone that is Samsung expected to sell go by 2022. We can see that Samsung is increasing the mass production of the A series to 70 million devices, with the start of the show of the A series being the A53 5G. On the S22 series, the goal is 32.9 million. is just the main three devices, including the S22 FE, that will increase it to 38.6 million devices sold by 2022. With the focus being on the standard S22 and the second, the S22 Ultra, both beating the S22 Plus. On the Z Fold 4 series, the mass production is 9.8 million, with the main focus on the Z Flip 4, in which Samsung is beating high on the Z Flip 4. The total smartphone goal is 334 million for next year. A rumor mentioned that Samsung will increase the price of the S22 lineup by $100 more. The leaker Galaxy said that the S22 series will increase the price, but also mentioned that it is for the 256GB variant. If Samsung increases the price, that will destroy Samsung goals and will sell less than the S21 series, even not competing against Apple iPhone 13 series, who most of the time keeps the same price. The other rumor mentioned that Samsung will keep the same price because Samsung is not adding groundbreaking technology, it's just keeping simple as Apple with minor upgrades. The Motorola Edge X or Ultra 30, name depends on the region that you live in. The Motorola Edge possible designs and specs for 2022. The display will be an AMOLED of 6.67 inches at 144Hz refresh rate, with a possible support of HDR10+. It will come with a Snapdragon 898 chipset, 8 to 12 GB of RAM. On the rear camera, it will have a 50 megapixel wide-angle camera, a ultra-wide camera that is a 50 megapixel, 2 megapixel depth sensor. The storage capacity is 128 GB to 256 GB and a 5000 mAh battery. The MediaTek Dimensity 2000 chipset has been spotted on the benchmark at 22 and the score is 1,002,200. This leak was from the trusted leakers Ice Universe and Digital Chat Station. It's running on built-in a 4nm, which is based on the 5nm node. Based on this leaker, mentioned that all possible next year's smartphone that will have 125 watts wire charging speed. The leaker mentioned the list included the Realme G2 Pro, Find X Pro series, the OnePlus 10 Pro, the Oppo N series, Reno 8 Pro featuring 125 watt fast charging,